I love this. Making my way through all the Indiana Jones movies on Netflix. Remember the days when movies and movie stars were fabulous message-free entertainment and escapism. Notice the flag, right? Notice the flag. I'm going to say this. Indiana Jones didn't have politics in it. You know why people say that Indiana Jones didn't have politics in it? Because it's not modern day politics. Nazis are the West's generic bad guys, and they have been since the fucking 50s. Hogan's Heroes is literally a comedy show where they make fun of Nazis and Germans all fucking day, as well as a bunch of other stuff. Like I'm not gonna lie, dude. I thought Hogan's Heroes was the shit when I was a kid. I watched it constantly because it was on TV Land, right? Where it shows all the old shows. Yeah. When I started seeing stuff that came on when I was a kid that actually was like new when I was a kid was on TV Land, I was like, oh man, I'm old. Oh no. Anyway, so the reason that people see this as non-political is because we're not putting modern politics. This is not a critique on what year did this come out? What does it say? Indiana Jones, several decades. So 81 was Raiders of the Lost Ark. 84, 89. Okay, so the first three were in the 80s. Okay, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure this one's Lost Ark, right? Because the Temple of Doom is either Lost Ark or the Last Crusade. Because the Temple of Doom is in India, mostly. Yeah. And it's the Kali Ma cult that he's fighting there. And the Last Crusade is they're trying to find the Holy Grail. Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'm pretty sure this is Raiders. It could be Lost Ark. I don't know. I haven't watched the movies that fucking much, just a lot as a kid, right? And so was Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, or Last Crusade commenting on Reagan's plan to destroy communism? No. Was it commenting on feminism? No. Was it making some kind of religious statement about Jesus? No. Even in the Last Crusade, even in the Lost Ark, where these are explicitly religious icons and iconography and myths from the Judeo-Christian tradition, they're not pushing it. They're not standing on a soapbox saying, you should believe this and you're wrong if you don't. Nazis are generic bad guys. So when you're saying there's no politics in Indiana Jones, there isn't any politics in Indiana Jones. Because the politics are internal to Indiana Jones universe. That's the key, right? Because when people say politics in entertainment, they're talking about our politics, not the politics inside the movie. You can correlate the two, but if you do it too much, too hard, too fast, you end up suspending disbelief. Because when George Lucas says that the Phantom Menace or one of the new Star Wars movies that he did, the prequel trilogy, was like one of them commented on fucking George Bush invading Iraq or some shit like that, right? It was some part of the movie was, but you can't explicitly see that, can you? No, you can't. But when you have entertainment that literally is, oh, I'm non-binary, and it's in like the 1940s or in some fucking other like medieval place, it's like, yeah, that is absolutely modern day politics influencing the game and will completely take you out of that. That's why in Dragon Age Inquisition, as many faults as that game has, I will say that while I was turned off a little bit that they even decided to broach the fucking subject of transgenderism, I thought they handled it absolutely magnificently, like perfectly well done. Because it wasn't in your face. It was something that you literally just came upon because you just start talking to people. And then you realize that this man that you've been fighting with is actually a woman. You're like, what the fuck just happened? And then you go, and then there's this thing, and fucking Iron Bull knows, and he doesn't give a fuck because in his culture, there's actually a word that describes this type of person where they feel like they should be doing the jobs of the other sex, right? Because in Kunari culture, the sexes do different things. Literally, they're delineated. Women are not warriors, right? They do not fight, not in the military style fighting that men do, right? They're also like scholars and scientists and shit too. Women are, or priests or some shit like that. I don't remember. The point is that the politics of that individual being trans was internal to the universe and not ours. We understood that the reason it was being brought up was because of our politics. Hang on a second. All right, sorry. Um, and so even though we kind of understood that the reason the subject was even being broached was because of modern day politics, right? Because it was so much in the forefront. Not as much as it was today. So you could forgive it for that. That's fine because this was in like what 2011, 12, some shit like that, 14, whatever, when this shit first started to take off. Um, the But the way they handled it was they kept it in the universe. They create the Kunari have this like it's like it literally is the same way that Brandon Sanderson handled it in his Stormlight Archives book, where he meets a woman and he could tell it's a woman, but she is like a fucking beefcake, dude, and she's a blacksmith, and basically he's like, what the fuck is going on, because this is not something he's ever seen or anything, and he's in another country where they're just bureaucrats. They're literally a country of bureaucrats, and so everything has paperwork. Even when you steal shit, there's paperwork. Like it's fucking hilarious, right? The way it's done. It's like bureaucracy is part of their religion, kind of deal. And he looks at the dude who's like following him around. He's like, what's going on here? And he's like, oh, he filled out the paperwork, or she filled out the paperwork, or some shit like that. I don't remember which pronouns he used. It doesn't matter. Because I can't remember if they actually changed genders or if it's just they did other things. I think it was the gender change, so it would be he. And he was like, oh, okay. And it was like, so you're a blacksmith? Yep. You can fight? Uh huh. Okay. I mean, when you're looking at a woman who's your height and is bigger muscles than you, and she's like, I want to help fight, and you're like, okay, yep, sure. The and the thing about it is that when you keep it in the inside of the internal machinations of the game, or of the fictional universe, then you allow us to subsume ourselves in the you allow us to continue to assume ourselves in the disbelief that we have. Fuck, I'm stumbling all over myself. When you keep the politics internal, it allows the reader or the person watching the entertainment or experiencing the entertainment to maintain their suspension of disbelief. And so you become subsumed in the actual product, and you in the world, in the universe, and you can maintain the disbelief even though something from modern politics pops up. It doesn't matter because it's framed from the lens of the universe, from the people that are there. So when Dragon Age 4 did it, they did it from the perspective of us and not the perspective of the people in the game. That's the difference. When you do it explicitly for politics outside, and you make that the entirety of what's going on in a universe where it doesn't belong. If you make a game that is about those types of politics, that's different, because that's internal to the game as well. Even though it's modern day politics, it's internal to the game. So if you want to play a game that has to do with all kinds of modern politics, that's fine. The difference is that when you put it in like something like Spider-Man, which is supposed to represent everybody, and then you co-opt it for a singular political thing, saying messages that the vast majority of people wouldn't say, well, then you're isolating them from that universe, because you're saying this character is not for you. If you're the artist and you're doing the character and you're making them use explicitly political messages from today, then you are isolating a part of your audience that may be sympathetic to the other side of your argument. Ah, my dude's so good. It's so good. Okay, so yeah, this is one of those things where I despise the dialogue that's here because people like this willfully just do not understand what people are talking about, because this is like, it's like a layman says something, and then someone who has someone who claims that they have more intelligence and more knowledge, oh, you don't actually know what you're talking about. When instead, you should be, I'm an intelligent person, so what do they actually mean when they say this? Are they talking about politics in general? All politics? Right? Because almost every single drama that is in our modern day world, right, the vast majority of them have some type of politics in them. Like Indiana Jones, Star Wars, there are political factions vying for control, right? So they are aware, they're not retarded to the point where they can't recognize that political factions are at war with one another and trying to kill each other. Because, like I said, that's the vast majority of things that are going on when it's, especially when it's like an action movie or something. There's both sides represent some type of politics in the universe and outside the universe. Right, where when it's Rambo First Blood, right? It's like you have this veteran who's going through PT. He's got like extreme PTSD. He's extremely fucking dangerous and paranoid. And what do they fucking do? They fucking go into the woods and start hunting his ass. And it's like, are there politics in that? Not explicitly, but there are political factions within this movie that you could delineate if you saw it. And so these people are aware that in Star Wars, the Empire is a political entity, the Rebels are a political entity, the Jedi are a political entity, and the Republic is a political entity. Everybody fucking knows that. So when they say we don't want politics in our entertainment, in our Star Wars, or in our Indiana Jones, we know that the Nazis are a political entity. We know that Indiana Jones represents a political entity. What they don't represent is that political entity through today's lens. They represent it through the lens of the entertainment itself. So when the layman says, I don't want politics in my stuff, and you turn around and go, well, actually, there's politics in everything, you're the retard. Because you're not understanding what they're trying to say. If someone cannot articulate their position properly, then what you are, and you know they can't, but you know there's something more to what they mean than what that they can't properly articulate, and then you choose to ignore it, you are the retard, because you are preventing the type of dialogue that will take our civilization forward. This is where grace and understanding comes from, right? This is why when someone says something that sounds fucking stupid, you really do want to try to understand what they're actually trying to say, right? Because if you dig down through all the bullshit and all the other stuff, you might actually find their actual opinion that is not too different from your own, right? Yeah. This is why I hate red team, blue team, and then the way the politics go around it. But the funny thing is that as much as I hate it, I really do think this is just the natural way that our species ends up delineating in large groups. Even amongst that, we all break into factions based on loyalty to people, loyalty to ideals, or hatred of others and things like that. And so I don't think we'll ever get rid of it. And so while I lament it and I dislike it in the extreme, I don't believe it's going to go away anytime soon. And so it's like it's really always been this way. It's just the vast majority of America wasn't truly involved in it. They were able to be distracted by, bread and circuses, as it were. And so I really dislike this because the point of the entertainment, message-free entertainment and escapism. So not only that, I've been ranting this entire time and I didn't even realize he is essentially misinterpreting what she's saying. She's actually articulating it properly in a short form way, right? Because we're fabulous, message-free entertainment and escapism. And then he goes, no politics in Indiana Jones. Do you know why Indiana Jones is message-free? Is because Indiana Jones is a violent individual who steals things. So he's not. So he's almost like what's the fucking character's name? Captain Sparrow in the Pirates of the Caribbean. Although Captain Sparrow was a lot darker because of the whole pirate thing. Indiana Jones is not a goody two shoes. He's a rough and tumble kind of guy, right? Who uses violence, often incorrectly, to get the things he wants. But he's the good guy, right? He's fighting Nazis. So we cut him some slack, right? We see through his eyes that he's trying his best. And that's good enough. That's good enough. And so, message-free entertainment and escapism. Indiana Jones is message-free entertainment and escapism. Because the message is subliminal. The message is under the action. It's under the story, right? And in Star Trek, a lot of it used to be that way as well. Now, there were many episodes where Picard like stood on his fucking soapbox. But to be fair to Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry and Patrick Stewart, when you take an actor like Patrick Stewart and you put him in the role of Jean-Luc Picard, and then you literally make every episode like some pseudo moral lesson about expanding human knowledge or empathy or some shit like that. I mean, what the fuck did you think you were going to get, right? And so while Star Trek was great escapism, it did have a message, but its message was hidden under cool tech, really cool stories. There were layers to it, multiple layers that allowed you to think beyond just this is what's right, this is what's wrong, fuck you, I know I'm right, right? Because that's what modern entertainment, when it puts politics in it, that's what it's doing. It's beating you over the head with the message rather than putting the message in there and letting you think about it, letting it stew. And the funny thing is that one of the main reasons why I do believe that American entertainment made Americans less racist is because that's what they did. They didn't have to explicitly put it in, and a lot of the movies that did weren't as good and weren't nearly as acclaimed necessarily, right? Think about Beverly Hills Cop, right? Eddie Murphy. Think about Blade in the 90s. Blade, man. God damn. I got to go back and watch me some Blade. I tell you what, man. I need to find out where I can find that. It's been a while since I've seen it. But it's like, I think about all the black dudes I watched growing up being my idols and being men that I wanted to be, right? Denzel Washington is another great example. Geordi LaForge from Star Trek, another great example. Benjamin Sisko, another great example. Because the message the message of putting Benjamin Sisko as captain was that black people can be in, upper echelons of leadership, and it's no big deal because they're just people like us. But you know what? You know how they did it? They didn't say that on the show because in Star Trek, race relations have been solved. Black, white, none of that shit matters. So how did they push the message in Star Trek DS9? Well, they showed him being a capable, competent, empathetic, amazing, badass leader. So not only did he have the ability to take charge and take lead, just like Jean-Luc, not only was he an actual diplomat like Jean-Luc, just not nearly as refined as such, mostly due to inexperience, obviously, because he was a commander when he took over DS9. But they also showed a side of him that Picard almost never showed. And that was when, if you push him too far, he will push you back. And he will push you back in a very not nice way. Now, we all know Picard can fight. We all know Picard has teeth. But he usually keeps his claws retracted until the last possible moment. But then you have freaking Sisko in a boxing ring with Q, and he punches him straight in the face. As hard as he can. And that is the difference between them. That is how they push the message. Is they gave you good entertainment within the universe that was consistent and coherent with the universe that they were in. And they used them and they put the message under everything else so that it was just there. You didn't have to think about it. So that the people who were fucking racist could watch Benjamin Sisko and be like, Yeah, this dude's pretty cool. I like him. I can have a beer with this man. That's what you want. But if Avery Brooks, the actor that was on DS9, had just come out and explicitly said, "Oh, I'm a black man and I can do everything a white man can," like, that's gonna fucking turn people off, dude. You know it is, because in Star Trek they've already gotten past that. That's one of the problems that the fucking Discovery had, is that almost all of the issues that a lot of the issues that they put front and center with the crew and stuff have mostly been taken care of in the 24th century, because you just are. Everything is. That's it. And this is why you do it with other races. But if you notice that when John Luke usually deals with other races who have bigotries and all this other stuff, he almost never brings it up until it comes to a head, until it becomes a problem. That's when it's brought up. And the reason is because when you're on somebody else's home turf, right? You try to show them respect. Why? Why do you do that? Because if you show them respect, then maybe, just maybe, they'll respect you back. And if they respect you back, when you give them the opinion, hey, this is not right what you're doing here. This is bigotry. You're oppressing your females. You're oppressing this race that's also on your planet, or this other species that's sentient. You're oppressing them, and this is not right. They have the right to be free. When you tell them those things, they are far more likely to listen if they respect you. And they're only going to respect you if you respect them. Understand? So unless there's some type of fucking warrior race where you beat them into submission and then they literally bend the knee because you are the stronger one, that's different. But that's also not really how it would ever work, right? Let's just be real. I hate it, man. I lost my place. Eat that. Okay, so we were talking about Star Trek. We were talking about oh yeah, so when Picard goes to a planet and they're doing stuff that we would consider abhorrent, bigoted, racist, sexist, all these types of things, the first thing you don't do is preach to them. Why? Because, like I just said, if you can get them to respect you, if you can earn their respect, when you tell them you disagree with them on something, they are more likely to listen. It is the same kind of thing with persuasion, where it's pacing and leading, where you get someone to agree with you on something, and then you lead them to where you want them to go. So you agree on, yes, space travel is awesome. That's great. You should come join us and explore the stars. Awesome. And then and you agree with that. And then you slowly walk them toward, you probably shouldn't be keeping your women from working. That's probably not a good idea. They are intelligent beings just like you are, just different, right? Or you should stop enslaving people. Slavery's bad, And now that you have access to this amazing technology, you don't really need it, right? So if you maybe got rid of slavery, that would be great. And if they respect you, they might listen, especially if you've got beneficial trade on the other side, right? Oh, we have access to replicators, so literally we can make food and water and clothing out of thin air. We can build houses like that, no problem. And it's so if you can pace and lead, if you can get them to respect you, you could potentially get them to change to be closer to you rather than who they were, which is a good thing, especially if you believe you are morally correct. The worst thing you could do for the people who are being oppressed by this regime is to go up to the regime and tell them that they're bigots and that we're going to punish them if they don't change their ways. Because what you're going to do is you're going to entrench that nonsense into their government, and they're going to probably use their own propaganda machine to rally their people against you so that you are the enemy. This is exactly what happened with the Tzynki, I think, in Star Trek. In the novels, there's another. I think it's in the. There's some episodes in Star Trek where the Tzynki are in it. They're mentioned or something, some stuff like that, but they're almost never. I don't think they've ever been on screen. Anyway, they're a highly genetically engineered race that exists in a caste system. They're also like amorphous blobs of jelly kind of deal. Kind of like the water dudes from Futurama. and they're in a genetically engineered caste system. So everybody is genetically engineered, and your genetics determine which caste you're in, and it determines how intelligent you are, how empathetic you are, yada yada yada, and so on and so forth. And one of the things that they believe is that the Federation is the most tyrannical, diabolical empire to have ever existed. And one of the reasons they believe that is because of the sentiment that Garrick and what was his name? Garrick and Quark had when they were talking about root beer, how the Federation is the most insidious people. The humans are some of the most insidious imperialists to have ever existed. And it's really because, and he says, because at first you don't like them. They taste bad. And he's talking about the root beer. But then you start to enjoy the fizziness. And then you turn in, and then eventually you like it. And you want more of it. And that's what humans are. At first, you're turned off by all of their morals. But then you start to like them. Really like them. And then you start to want to join them. And that's why they consider it insidious, is because basically the Federation is such a free and open place, full of good and moral individuals, that by simply existing as an exemplar, it makes everybody else look like shit, and it makes you want to be more like them. They are an example. And that really is what I feel like Picard was. He was always that example. He was that pillar that he could go to an alien civilization and be like, look, once he earns their respect by being that individual, and then once he's earned that respect, he can like plant the seeds that will eventually sow a more egalitarian society that could ally and be of benefit to the Federation and vice versa. So this is why you don't preach off the bat. This is why you don't evangelize people, is because a lot of them will simply dislike you for it, especially if you're trying to get them on side or get them to stop doing something that they're entrenched into doing. This is not the way. This is not the way. If you want to feel good about yourself but not change the world, this is the way. If that's what you want to do, that's all you, buddy. Okay. So,